There's a drone in the air over Tehran right now. Not Iranian, not a Shahed, American, and it's carrying explosives. The Iranians designed the original to be cheap, disposable, and unstoppable. The Americans captured one, ripped it apart, and built their own version. Now that version is flying back toward the people who invented it. I need you to sit with that for a second before we go anywhere else. This is not a story about a new weapon. This is a story about what happens when the hunter becomes the hunted. When the asymmetric weapon that was supposed to terrorize American forces gets turned around and used against its own creators. The United States military has not, in recent memory, taken an enemy weapon, reverse-engineered it, mass-produced it, and deployed it against the original manufacturer in under 6 months. That streak ended this year. And here's the thing that nobody in the Pentagon briefing rooms wants to say out loud. The drone that the U.S. is now firing at Iranian targets is cheaper, smarter, and in some ways more capable than the Iranian original. Iran built the Shahed-136 to terrorize Ukraine and threaten Israel. The United States copied it, improved it, and is now firing it back at Tehran. Before I show you exactly how the U.S. pulled off this technological revenge, and why the Lucas drone may change the calculus of every asymmetric conflict going forward, hit subscribe. This is War Conflict. I post forensic analysis of every major escalation, and this is the one that proves no weapon is safe from reverse engineering. Let me start with what is confirmed and what is not, because transparency matters. The United States has developed a reverse-engineered copy of Iran's Shahed-136 drone called the Lucas, Low-Cost Unmanned Combat Attack System. The Lucas made its combat debut in Operation Epic Fury, with U.S. Central Command announcing its first combat use against Iranian targets. Rear Admiral Brad Cooper, commander of U.S. Central Command, publicly stated, "We captured it, pulled the guts out, sent it back to America. Put a little Made in America on it, brought it back here, and we were shooting it at the Iranians." The Lucas is built by Spectre Works, an Arizona defense firm, and costs approximately $35,000 per unit, cheaper than the Iranian original. The drone can launch from catapults, rocket assist rails, or mobile ground vehicles, and carries a payload of approximately 20 kilograms of explosives. The U.S. Navy completed the first ship-based Lucas launch on December 16, 2025, firing from the flight deck of USS Santa Barbara in the Arabian Gulf. What is analysis? The exact number of Lucas drones deployed, the specific targets struck, and full damage assessments remain classified. CENTCOM has not released detailed operational data. The strategic implications, the irony, the cost exchange, the psychological impact, those are based on open-source analysis and the public statements of U.S. military commanders. Here's what you need to understand before we go further. This is not just a weapon. It is a message. And the message is, what you build to hurt us, we will build better and send back to you. Let me explain what the Shahed-136 actually is, because once you understand this weapon, the American decision to copy it becomes a masterstroke of asymmetric strategy. The Shahed-136 is a one-way attack drone. It's sometimes called a loitering munition or a suicide drone. It flies to a target area and detonates on impact. Here are the specifications that matter. Cost is approximately $50,000 per unit. For comparison, a single Patriot interceptor missile costs nearly $4 million. An Iron Dome interceptor costs $150,000. The Shahed is designed to overwhelm defenses through sheer numbers, forcing the defender to spend exponentially more on interceptors than the attacker spent on drones. Range is approximately 2,000 kilometers. From launch sites in Iran or from proxy positions, the Shahed can reach every major Israeli city, U.S. naval assets in the Gulf, and critical infrastructure across the region. Warhead is approximately 50 kilograms of high explosives, enough to destroy a building, crater a runway, or sink a small vessel. Propulsion is a small piston engine mounted in the tail. It's not a jet. It sounds like a lawnmower in the sky, which is why Ukrainian soldiers nicknamed it the moped missile. Guidance uses GPS and inertial navigation. The Shahed is not a precision weapon in the traditional sense, but it doesn't need to be. When you launch hundreds of them at once, you don't need every drone to hit. You just need enough to get through. The Shahed-136 has become Iran's signature weapon. Russia has used thousands of them against Ukrainian infrastructure. Iran has deployed them against Israel and U.S. forces in the region. The drone is cheap, effective, and difficult to stop in large numbers. Iran produced over 2,100 Shahed drones prior to the war. Their production lines are now underground, distributed, and difficult to target. The weapon has given Iran an asymmetric advantage against nations that spend billions on air defense. But here's the thing about asymmetric weapons. They only work as long as you're the only one who has them. The United States watched the Shahed-'s success in Ukraine and understood something critical. The era of expensive, one-size-fits-all air defense was ending. The future belonged to cheap, mass-produced drones that could overwhelm any defensive system through sheer numbers. So the Pentagon did something unusual. They didn't try to build a better interceptor. They didn't try to jam the Shahed-'s guidance. They captured one, reverse-engineered it, and built their own version. Rear Admiral Brad Cooper, commander of U.S. Central Command, put it bluntly. We captured it, pulled the guts out, sent it back to America. Put a little Made in America on it, brought it back here, and we were shooting it at the Iranians. The result is the LUCAS, an acronym for Low-Cost Unmanned Combat Attack System. Here are the specifications that matter for the American version. Cost is approximately $35,000 per unit. That's cheaper than the Iranian original. The United States, known for building billion-dollar bombers and million-dollar missiles, has produced a weapon that costs less than a luxury SUV. Range is approximately 1,500 kilometers, slightly less than the Shahed, but still enough to reach critical Iranian targets from launch points in the Gulf or from Allied bases. Warhead is approximately 20 kilograms of explosives, less than the Shahed's 50 kilograms, but the trade-off is worth it. Guidance is where the LUCAS surpasses the Iranian original. The LUCAS is equipped with AI technology for autonomous formation flying. It can penetrate jamming and still strike its target. It can coordinate with other drones in a swarm. The LUCAS is not a perfect copy. It's an improvement. The United States took Iranian technology, American engineering, and AI guidance systems to create a weapon that is cheaper, smarter, and more capable than the original. And in early March 2026, the LUCAS made its combat debut. On Saturday, March 7, 2026, Task Force Scorpion Strike fired LUCAS one-way attack drones against Iranian targets. It was the platform's first use in combat. The targets were not random. U.S. Central Command announced that the Kamikaze drones targeted Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps command centers, air defense networks, missile sites, and military airfields. The operation was part of Operation Epic Fury, the ongoing U.S. campaign against Iranian military infrastructure. But the choice of weapon was deliberate. The United States was using Iran's own technology against them. Thousands of LUCAS drones were reportedly deployed at the start of hostilities, playing a key role in disabling Iran's surface-to-air missile launchers. Here's what makes this particularly devastating from a psychological perspective. The Shahed-136 was designed by Iran to terrorize adversaries. The sound of its engine, that lawnmower buzz, became a signature of impending death in Ukraine. Iranian military planners took pride in their asymmetric masterstroke. Now that same sound, or something very close to it, is being heard over Iranian territory. American drones, built from Iranian blueprints, flying toward Iranian targets. The irony is not lost on anyone watching this conflict. U.S. Special Operations Command Central personnel lead the squadron operating the LUCAS. The Navy completed the first ship-based LUCAS launch on December 16, 2025, firing from the flight deck of USS Santa Barbara in the Arabian Gulf. CENTCOM activated Task Force Scorpion Strike in early December 2025, roughly 4 months after Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth signed his Unleashing U.S. Military Drone Dominance memo. The strikes followed less than 3 months later. This is not a weapon system that took years to develop. This is a weapon system that was reverse-engineered, mass-produced, and deployed in under 6 months. The United States moved at wartime speed because the threat was already at the door. Here's where the story turns from military analysis into something almost poetic, and that's why the phrase technological revenge applies. Iran built the Shahed-136 to exploit the cost-exchange asymmetry of modern air defense. Every Shahed costs $50,000. Every Patriot interceptor costs $4 million. Every Iron Dome interceptor costs $150,000. Iran could launch hundreds of Shaheds and force the defender to spend hundreds of millions on interceptors. Iran believed this asymmetry was their advantage. They believed the United States could not produce a similar weapon because American military procurement was too slow, too expensive, and too focused on high-end platforms. They were wrong. The United States built the LUCAS for $35,000, cheaper than the Iranian original. They used AI guidance systems that the Shahed lacks. They deployed it in combat within months of the decision to reverse engineer. The LUCAS is not just a copy, it is an improvement. and it represents a fundamental shift in American military thinking. For decades, the Pentagon focused on building the best weapons, the stealthiest fighters, the most advanced ships, the most sophisticated missiles. Those weapons cost billions. They take decades to develop. They are produced in small numbers. The Lucas represents a different philosophy: cheap, mass-produced, quickly deployed, designed to overwhelm rather than outmatch. The irony is that Iran taught the United States this lesson, and now the United States is using that lesson against Iran. According to military analysts, the Lucas can launch from catapults, rocket assist rails, or mobile ground vehicles. Some platforms carry Starlink terminals, enabling swarm coordination. This means dozens or even hundreds of Lucas drones can be controlled simultaneously, coordinating their attacks to overwhelm Iranian air defense networks. The Shahed was designed to overwhelm. The Lucas was designed to overwhelm better. China and Russia are watching. North Korea is watching. Every nation that is invested in cheap drone technology is now recalculating the value of their investment. Because if the United States can reverse engineer and improve Iranian drones in under 6 months, what else can they copy? Most people watching coverage of this war are watching the military scoreboard. How many drones launched? How many targets destroyed? How much territory controlled? But there's another scoreboard. It's updated in defense ministries, engineering labs, and intelligence agencies. It uses words like reverse engineering and asymmetric countermeasure and cost exchange reversal. On that scoreboard, something fundamental just shifted. The Shahed-136 was Iran's asymmetric advantage. It was the weapon that allowed a nation with a fraction of the American defense budget to threaten U.S. assets and allies. It was the equalizer. Now that equalizer is in American hands, and the American version is better. The cost exchange ratio that Iran relied on has reversed. Iran built the Shahed to force the U.S. to spend millions on interceptors. Now the U.S. has built the Lucas to force Iran to spend millions on air defense, using technology that Iran originally developed. Iran has responded to the U.S. reverse engineering effort with threats of retaliation. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has declared that they will target U.S. energy infrastructure in response. They have also claimed to be developing new AI-guided versions of the Shahed that can penetrate jamming. But the damage is done. The technological gap has narrowed, and the psychological impact of seeing your own weapon used against you cannot be calculated in dollars or casualties. The U.S. Central Command commander gave a press conference where he held up the Lucas and essentially said, "We took your weapon, made it better, and now we're using it to destroy your command centers." That is not a military victory. That is a humiliation, and Iran knows it. The trap is that Iran cannot stop the U.S. from producing Lucas drones. The components are commercial. The design is replicable. The production lines in Arizona are beyond the reach of Iranian missiles. Iran's only option is to develop a new asymmetric advantage, something the U.S. cannot copy. But that takes time, and time is the one thing Iran may not have. In the meantime, the Lucas is flying, and every time it strikes an Iranian target, it carries a message. What you built to hurt us, we built better. And now, it's coming back to you. Here's what makes this harder to talk about than it should be. The United States cannot publicly gloat about reverse engineering Iranian drones without escalating the conflict. Iran cannot admit that the Lucas is causing significant damage without admitting that their asymmetric advantage has been neutralized. So both sides will downplay the significance. The Pentagon will call it one tool among many. Iran will call it a propaganda stunt. But the facts speak for themselves. The United States captured an Iranian Shahed drone, reverse engineered it, improved it, mass-produced it, and deployed it against Iranian targets in under 6 months. A U.S. military commander confirmed this on the record. The Lucas is not just a weapon. It is the physical embodiment of a strategic shift. The United States has learned to fight cheap, and that should terrify every adversary who relies on asymmetric advantages. The Shahed was supposed to be Iran's equalizer. Now it's America's equalizer. Here's my question for you in the comments. Does the Lucas drone represent a genuine shift in American military strategy toward cheap, mass-produced weapons? Or is it a one-off response to a specific threat that will be abandoned once the conflict ends? I read every comment. The best ones I'll address in a follow-up. All sources are linked in the description. KBS News, SOFX, and CENTCOM statements confirm the Lucas program, its reverse engineering origin, and its combat deployment during Operation Epic Fury. If you made it this far, you understand that the next war won't be won by the side with the most expensive weapons. It will be won by the side that can steal the other side's weapons and make them better for half the price. This is war conflict. I'll see you in the next one.